I am Count Matula, and he is Brannable Lecter, and together we are the Children of the Corn. Welcome to the party. We are the Socially Awkwards, and today's episode is all about horror movies. Brannable, I know you like horror movies, but how do you feel about horror movies?
I don't like horror movies. I like some, but I don't watch them that much. And I feel like I get some flack for that sometimes, but I just haven't gotten into them. What about you? I know you love them, right?
Well,
But
really
you
quick,
tell.
is there a specific reason or like are you just I mean, maybe you should tell the listeners or the viewers like do you watch a lot of movies just in general? I mean, I know you're busy a lot, so I mean, how often are
Yeah,
you
I do.
actually watching movies? Okay.
I do watch movies. I like action, adventure, fantasy, comedy. Really, like most genres of movies, I like watching. But horror, it stands out as one of those genres that it's like horror and like romance are probably like the two genres that I have the least amount of like watch time. And I think out of the two of those, I have even less time in horror.
Okay, so if they did like a horror version of The Notebook, you'd be like I'm out.
Yeah, that would
Or
be
like a
pretty
horror movie
bad.
of like Sleepless in Seattle or which
Yeah.
already kind of sounds like a horror movie title in a way, kind of.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you can't
I
sleep.
love horror movies. It is probably, I don't know, is it my favorite genre? It very well could be. When I was writing down some movies last night about some horror movies, I wanted to make a list of horror movies that kind of had I don't know, made an impact on me or, influenced me in one way or another. And I just kept writing and writing and writing and I was like, "Oh, this is going to be a long list." And I knew in my head that I wasn't remembering them all too. So when I get there, I'm going to be like, "Hey, here's some of my favorite horror movies, but it's not going to be all of them." And so apparently I do really like horror movies. I like to find hidden gems. I like to find things that aren't really known to a lot of people. And I will watch things even if they get, kind of not if they get bad reviews, but if people go out and say, "Oh my God, that horror movie was so disturbing," it's like, okay, you've just elevated the level of how much I want
Mm.
to watch that horror movie. And I don't know if you've read some articles. I think one of the last ones was one of the Terrifier movies. But there's always those articles about people who are like throwing up in the theater, or they have to like get out of the theater. And I always wonder, I'm like, well,
Yeah.
did you not know what kind of movie you were going to see? Why did that happen? So it's just kind of interesting. I want to talk
Yeah,
a little
where
bit
does
about
the throwing up come from?
I
Like,
don't know. And
just as a
that movie's
sidebar.
I guess it must just be okay, so this was the last time I read that was in Terrifier 3, and we'll discuss the Terrifier movies because I'm assuming you haven't even seen them. But the Terrifier movies, there's a lot of gore, and I wouldn't really say it's something that's not really been done. It's been done, so I don't know if it's just like your stomach can't handle seeing like blood. But that's where I get that. That's why I say like,
Mm,
well, if you can't handle that, like, why are you? It's kind of like when you go to see a stand-up comedian and then you start booing, and then you're like, do you not know like who you saw? Like they don't like the jokes or something. It's like, well, do some research, man. I know back in the day it was hard, but
yeah,
now you can clearly find out who you're going to see or what movie you're going to watch. So
yeah.
it's just interesting to me that that
Speaking
does
of
happen.
speaking of throwing up the movies, there was one time I was at the movies, and in mid movie I had to go to use the bathroom, and when I was walking into the bathroom, there was a bunch of people looking at me, and I didn't know why, and then I looked down and I was standing in a pile of someone else's puke. So
Was that like a
they might have saw one
how
of the
old were you
terrifiers.
when that happened?
It wasn't. I mean, I don't know, 10,
That wasn't when you were
15
like a
years. I mean,
kid.
I'm in my no, no. I was like, I was in my 20s.
Okay.
So like, I'm just a normal. I'm a dude using the bathroom, and
Right.
I realized I was standing in a pile of someone's puke who
Did
probably
you
just
finish
ran
the
into the
movie?
bathroom after. Well, I wasn't watching a horror movie. It was somebody. I think that somebody
Well,
in a
right,
different theater.
but your feet were in
Oh yeah, yeah.
pukes.
Well, it no the pile. I was standing in it, but like that, I wasn't like it wasn't like up to my socks. It wasn't past the rubber on my shoes.
Gotcha.
So,
Gotcha.
but I was able to kind of get through. I don't know what I did, if I washed my shoes off or what, but I remember I was standing and I was like, oh, like somebody just puked, like hurled their guts everywhere here,
Right.
and it must
Right.
have happened really soon because it wasn't cleaned up or anything.
Right,
So
and they were all just
that's my
staring at
story
you,
about.
which
Yeah,
is kind of another weird thing, but I don't know.
yeah, they're
Maybe they
probably
were getting
waiting for
ready
me. They should
to.
have said something.
Right, stop.
Yeah, I wish they would have said something. They wanted me to slip in it and
Well,
like
yeah,
pull out their phones or something.
yeah. If that was the time during phones, because you're super, super old. All right,
Yeah, right, yeah. I don't think it
let's
was actually. I think it was yeah.
yeah, before you could actually
Go on. We can move
right.
on. We can move on. I'm a
No,
young
it's
guy.
it's
Let's
an
move on.
interesting story. That would
Yeah.
I mean, that wouldn't, like, traumatize me, but it's like it's kind of definitely an inconvenience, you know? Alright,
Yeah,
well,
for sure.
I wanna probably start off with just, like, the evolution of horror because, um, as you know, horror kinda, like, starts way back in the day. I mean, really, like, I think Dracula and things like that, Nosferatu back in the early '20s, was big, and that's more like, that's a lot of the vampire stuff. I think that's when that started coming about. And then and then as you went along, there was just a lot of other movies that really kind of started paving the way. I think there was a little bit of break there after some of those vampire movies. And then you got to like Alfred Hitchcock and his way of horror with like Psycho and The Birds and Vertigo and movies like that. Did you ever watch Psycho, the original? No? Okay. I actually watched that in high school. Ironically enough, there's actually a scene in there where who plays that girl? There's actually a scene in there where the girl's in the shower and he like murders her, and it was a class called
It's a
mass
famous
media.
it's a
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, famous
I was just saying
scene.
it's a famous scene. I know I've seen like stills from that scene in Psycho,
Right. And
but
do
yeah.
you know the general kind of like the general plot of the movie?
Let me guess. I'm gonna guess the plot is that there's a guy. Well, okay. Now I'm gonna lean into maybe being facetious here, but like I'm gonna assume there's a guy and he's psychotic and he murders people. He murders women. I'm gonna say that he murders women. Am
Well,
I
you're
close?
pretty close. He owns the Bates Motel. I'm sure you've heard of the Bates Motel. His name was Norman
I have,
Bates.
yeah.
And Norman Bates was played by Anthony Perkins, and he would murder people, and he would do it for his mother, and his mother was actually dead, but he kept her body in the attic. I don't know why I say attic with so like he kept her corpse the corpse in the attic with like a wig on it and stuff, and he would talk to her, and it was very creepy. I'm sure that movie came out in 1960, so I can imagine
Yeah.
that would have been a pretty creepy thing considering how mundane we were as a society. When I say that, I mean we were very traditional and conservative, much more back then. So it was just
Yeah.
it's a really good, it's an interesting take on things. And Alfred Hitchcock, he does really good. He was always focusing on camera angles and just the sensory images and the scenery and the music. And I think he really kind of paved the way for everybody else in that kind of genre of horror movies. But and then we start getting, after that we start getting a lot of the crazy one, like the bigger pictures, like The Exorcist, which is huge. Everybody, probably most people, what they remember about The Exorcist is the projectile, back to the vomit, but the projectile vomit that she does in like a straight horizontal, like just stream of vomit, which is not really scary, just fucking gross. But I don't know if they do that kind of thing. And then you've got like, and then you start getting into Stanley Kubrick, which was big, and he was doing The Shining, which was the Stephen King, based off the Stephen King novel. But we all know Nicholson and playing the crazy guy in The Shining, and then you get into some of the slashers like Halloween, Friday the 13th. Nightmare on Elm Street. I'm missing one. Oh, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So those are all kind of like coming out in the 70s and in the 80s. And then you kind of get into like, and then there's Alien, with Sigourney Weaver. And I mean, how many movies have they come off with that? And then they had The Predator, and now they do Aliens and Predators together. And you have, by the way, Jaws, which I guess is yeah, definitely considered a horror movie. 1975. It was the first time a horror movie was actually like a summer blockbuster. Like it made enough to where people were like really, I don't know, enjoying it, and it made a lot of money. And I want to say right here, because I have some numbers of the highest grossing individual horror films, and the 2017 adaptation of Stephen King's It is the highest growing horror movie at the global box office, earning $701 million worldwide by January 2025. Conjuring universe, I think there's been, gosh, I don't know. There's been a lot of movies. Their total gross is $2.2 billion, which is pretty crazy. And
Oh,
then but then if you adjust for inflation and things like that, The Exorcist and Jaws are up there as far as like some of the better horror movies. One of the things that I have a problem with now, and this isn't just in horror movies, but it's all even action movies, and maybe you can speak to this too, is as CGI and special effects get better, it's harder to go back and watch some movies where they weren't as good, right? Like when you know what they're capable of doing. And horror movies, no different from that. Like, blood and gore, I love to watch, but if you go back and start watching, like, a Texas Chainsaw Massacre in like the early 70s, or even like the Halloween movie or something, it's so weird to watch because you're just like, oh, that looks so fake now. But because it is the way it is. And that
Yeah.
definitely happens in action movies like all
It's
the time.
campy, cheesy.
Right, right. And
Um, yeah. There is something that I miss about the feeling of like early animatronics and like I don't know if they were like the clay figures. I don't know if they're clay, but like whatever like bodies were made out of, whatever like the gelatin and like whatever you would make a body. But I'm
right.
thinking of like even old like Indiana Jones movies, like you see a skeleton and it's like it's this real like special effects, like they made it, handmade this skeleton. And there's something gritty about that that does get lost with like the CGI glossy guts that you probably have more nowadays, I would imagine.
Right.
But yeah, I feel like there is something nostalgic, even though I wasn't big into horror. There was something nostalgic about that like Goonies era kind of. I know Goonies more like 80s, right? But that sort of like, I don't know, animatronic special effects, sort of like dead bodies, skeleton, grimy kind of feeling with like the way all these things were made. I don't know if you feel the same way, but
No, I do. It's definitely. I mean, as things get better, it's definitely. And and we discuss AI all the time. Like at some point, AI is just going to be able to make movies, right? And then we're just going to be seeing AI movies, and
yeah,
that'll be interesting in itself just to see, because that's just going to go crazy as well. But yeah, there's like in the beginning there's more practical effects, obviously, like they have to find different ways, and you got to give them kudos to some of these people that really did a good job of making things work out, whether it was horror or any other genre. Like, a lot of times when you discuss like effects and stuff, you think and how there was like a movies that would kind of set the tone for the rest of like the decade or something. You talk about what the Terminator probably is up there, where that kind of like when you watch that, you're like, oh, this is different. And then that's just another level. And then it goes to another level and another level. We talk about one of our favorite movies, Die Hard. I think yours is the third, but I like the first and the third probably the most. But even those, they find ways to do things. And then you get to a point where now it's just so much CGI, and they have a lot of, which I feel like would be less scarier for the actor, right? Like, I feel like back in the day, if you're actually dealing with like,
yeah.
props and stuff, like you can get into the mood a little bit more and they can kind of freak you out a little bit more. And we're going to talk about Poltergeist at some point because there's some crazy shit to kind of talk about Poltergeist with that. And then now it's like, well, if you're just going to CGI everything in, isn't it harder for that actor to kind of like get into that mood of being scary or anything like that? It's very interesting to just kind of dive into that and stuff, and think about how people would react. And then but the CGI, but I guess the reality is you want good actors, and they'll be able to do it. And the CGI is really for the viewer, and the viewer should respond better to the CGI than the practical effects, in my opinion. I'm curious because I don't know if we've ever discussed this, but what are some of the horror movies that you have seen that you know for sure you've seen?
I think I think I saw the first Saw. Um, this is gonna really surprise you, but I did see the first. I think it was the first one. I think I saw the most of it. I think I saw the first Human Centipede. Um, I saw.
Not recommended, by the way, for people. It is pretty it that I could see people going out and throwing up in a theater. Like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah, I think the reason why I saw that was because it was such a spectacle when it was happening. It was such an interesting concept for a movie. And I don't get too grossed out by the gore. Like my stomach doesn't get queasy by
Right.
the gore. So I'm okay with that.
I can usually eat while I'm watching the gore. So
Yeah.
that's how
That's
used to
another
it I am.
yeah, that's another step up. Yeah. Do you ever just eat white rice in a bowl while you're watching like maggots and like guts in a scene?
No, I don't see too many
You know?
maggots. I remember
Yeah.
that in Ghost Ship, but I don't. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I have seen The Shining.
Okay. Classic.
Yeah, classic. I've seen a lot of now this is horror, thriller, action kind of, but like I've seen some of the Alien movies, but most of the newer ones I didn't see actually the I don't think I saw Alien or Alien 2 or maybe Alien 3, like the first movies for like the first set, but like the ones that are like spin-offs like Alien, I don't know, like Covenant or the other
Okay.
ones, I don't know all their names, but I've seen some of those and those were enjoyable. But those aren't I don't think those are like horror core, right? Those are like horror
Yeah.
adjacent, it seems like.
There's a lot of genre mixing now too.
Yeah.
Well,
I
you
saw like
sorry, I was
what's
just
up?
going to say really quick. You had mentioned Tucker and Dale vs. Evil, I think, at one point,
Yeah, I saw
which
that.
is a great movie. I mean, people might think that we're like mocking it, but no, I legitimately say that it's a great movie. And that's kind of what like comedy horror. I mean, I don't really. I guess that's how you would describe it,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's definitely a good movie. Sorry, go ahead.
I think I've seen like half of The Ring. I'm trying to think of one more that I saw that like I just had it a second ago. Popular modern horror movie. Oh yeah, like one of the exorcism movies. Like I think it was called Exorcism of Emily Rose.
The Exorcism
And
of Emily Rose is actually, I think, comparing it to because they've done a lot of Exorcist movies. I think they just had like a new one recently. But the original Exorcist, it's really hard to beat. But the Exorcism of Emily Rose, I feel like, is probably going to be second best among all the Exorcism movies. It is a really good movie.
and the only reason why I would have seen, I think I saw most of that movie. The only reason why was because it was a group thing and I was just in the group and it was like this is the and I'm not going to be the one person that's like turn that off. I don't want to watch it, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm there. The movie's
Put on the
on.
Care
Everybody's watching
Bears
it.
movies, guys. I don't want to watch
Uh,
this.
yeah, and then for like a week afterwards, I every time I woke up in the middle of the night, I would look at the alarm clock to see what time it was. So
Right, right.
that was my experience.
Yeah. What about like if you're because I know that like guys always have like this thing that they do when they're dating a girl and they're like, "Oh, I'll watch a horror movie so that way she gets scared and she gets closer." Like, have you had that? Like, have you done that specifically or has a girlfriend ever been like, "Hey, let's watch this horror movie," and you're like, "All right." Or have you not
No, but
watched too
if
many
like
horror movies with them?
if my goal was to manipulate the circumstance to induce fear
But
chemicals,
you're making it
then
sound so bad.
I would. No, it's not bad. I
No,
think
you're good.
it's sure it's fair. Who knows? Yeah. Uh, I would probably go a different route. I'd probably go more of a thrilling route. Like I don't know, do an activity that is scary or something that gets your heart pumping, you know what I mean? So I don't know, like ride a motorcycle somewhere. Like I'd rather try to pursue something that's sort of like that for the thrills rather than watching a horror movie. So that's how I
I
would
got
do it.
you. I
That's
got you.
my style of manipulation.
Like play Among Us or something.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Something like that. Have you ever played that game? I've never played that game.
Yeah,
I've watched people play it, but I was like, I don't know. There's way too many games out there. That'll be a whole nother podcast. We'll talk about every single game that's ever been played, and it'll be I don't know, it'll probably be, well, I'll probably have to record for a year straight when we talk about that. I want to talk a little bit about, well, I want to talk about what the fuck moments, or for people who want to a little bit more detail to what I'm referring to, it's like jaw dropping moments. Now, you haven't seen a lot of horror movies, but there can be jaw dropping moments in other movies too. So, have you ever watched a movie where you were just kind of like, what the fuck was that? Or like, what just happened kind of thing? And where you were kind of surprised by what happened?
kind of surprised.
Like,
Big twists.
it could be a twist. It could just be something where your brain was like, well, I wasn't expecting that. And like I said, this could just be like, okay, so the first thing that comes to my mind, and we had discussed American Pie before, but there's two things in American Pie that come to my mind with this. First is obviously Jason Biggs fucking the apple pie,
Yeah.
which is kind of like a what the fuck moment, right? By the way, he was doing an interview and he said that some 17-year-old kid tried to fuck a pie after that movie came out. And the dude got burns on his penis because he didn't wait for the pie to cool off. And then his parents tried to sue the studio. And it was just like, wow, that's crazy to me. But yeah, that moment in that movie, and then the moment where Allison Hannigan's character says, one time at band camp, I stuck a flute up my pussy. I remember being in there, and apparently this was an 18 plus movie, but I was in there watching it, I don't know, 16 maybe, and I was watching it with friends, and we just all kind of like, did she seriously just say that? So I'm just kind of curious if there's anything like that where you can be like, oh, that movie was like crazy or like that was kind of like a what the fuck.
Yeah, I'm sure that's happened. I'm trying to think of movies
Gotcha.
that would have happened. This is kind of a horror movie. What was it called? Leonardo DiCaprio,
Shutter Island?
Yeah, Shutter Island. So
Yeah.
I think I've seen Shutter Island, and
Yeah.
that one has a real big twist in it, and that
Yeah,
was
and I can't
probably one of
remember the
those.
twist. I don't know if you should reveal it in case for people that haven't seen the movie that's what, like 20 fucking years old probably by now,
I'll
but
reveal it. I don't care.
go
I'll
for it
send
because
it
I
out there.
actually forgot what the
All right.
twist was. I've watched a lot of different movies and I
So in
forget.
this whole movie, he comes to this island and he's investigating these things that are happening,
Right.
and all these weird circumstances keep happening. And this island, they're doing these weird experiments on this island, and it's like him and his. I'm trying to think of the actor's name who also plays his officer who's with him.
Right.
Real famous, plays the Hulk.
Well, okay.
Mark
Okay, the current Hulk, Mark Ruffalo.
Mark Ruffalo, yeah.
Yeah.
So anyways, Leonardo goes through all this, and then things get weirder and weirder. And then the twist at the end is that he's not a cop. He didn't come from off the island. In fact, he's one of the psychiatric, like the inmates. I don't know if inmates is the right word, but one of the people who were there at the hospital. And his brain is all messed up. And they concocted this entire exercise to jar his brain to make him remember this like tragedy that happened in real life that like his brain wants to forget. And then at the end of the movie, he remembers and he snaps back to reality. But then at the very end, he forgets again. And then it's like one of those like Inception moments at the end of the movie where they have this thing that happens where you're not sure if he actually remembers still or if because like at the end he forgets, and so they decide to lobotomize him. But there's like that moment where it makes you, the viewer, think like, oh, like does he actually remember? Because he has this famous line where he says, where I'm going to butcher a little bit, but he says sometimes I think it's better to live as a monster or to die as a hero. He's like, or something like that. He said he's not sure. So, and I think that's supposed to make you think like, does he realize that he's a monster and he wants to get lobotomized or not, So that's the twist. Do you remember the twist when I
I
brought it
do
up?
now, yeah, after you
Yeah.
said that. And that kind of brought me to another question is do you like when they do kind of like an open ending like that where it's kind of up for you to decide? Or like does it depend on the situation or do you like it? Do you not like it?
I don't think I like it, but I still think it has its intended purpose. I think its intended effect still works on me, even though I don't like logically. I don't think I like it very much because I still talk about it, right? I think about it, I talk about it, it's on my mind,
It
and I think
does
that's
its
what the real
job,
effect.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it does its job, but it's not satisfying. I don't find it satisfying.
Yeah, because it reminds me of the ending of The Sopranos, which we had discussed before, which they kind of leave it open. And I think that David Chase has said in interviews later on that yeah, Tony did get killed in that end scene, but I'm not 100% sure if he actually verified that like 100%. But there are movies where obviously that's the other thing too. When they do a twist ending, and I guess we're gonna get into M. Night Shyamalan a little bit, but you've seen The Sixth Sense, correct?
No,
You
but I
haven't
know
seen
the
this,
twist. I know
right?
the twist.
And that's probably a problem with you, right? Because that kind of ruins the whole movie, doesn't it? And
Yep,
and
it
it
was it
also
was so
makes it
famous. I knew it. Yeah.
right, and it also makes it not like rewatchable because you're like, I mean, I guess you could. There are some people that say we go back and rewatch it to see if there are other clues in there or something, but I'm not really like that into that kind of thing. I just want to watch a movie to be entertained. I don't want to have to, I don't want to work while I'm watching a movie. I just want to be entertained. So I do think that yeah, when you have these crazy twist endings, it kind of it hurts the people that haven't watched it and then they know what the twist ending is, and it also hurts its like rewatchability or whatever. And he had another movie called The Village. Have you seen that?
I've seen enough of The Village to let me tell you what I think happens. It's like basically you're watching this movie and you think it's a period or this movie that takes place during this time in history, and there's like this supernatural reason why they don't venture outside the village very far. And then it turns out that they're just like it's like modern day, but they're like in this like quarantined little society artificially kept inside this village.
Right,
And that's
almost
the
like
twist.
cult like type
Exactly. Yeah.
place.
Yeah. That's what I remember.
Yeah, and that is basically the ending. The one of the main characters at the end like runs out and then realizes she's like out on a highway and a car passes by. Which in itself, if you were in that situation, that is freaky. That would be freaky, right? Like if all you knew was like you just didn't know about cars or any of that stuff, and then you go out there and you're like, whoa, like what the hell is this? And M Night does that thing a lot with his movies. But probably one of if we want to discuss M Night Shyamalan, have you seen Signs?
I have seen Signs, yeah.
Okay, and Signs is probably my favorite M Night movie. I liked it a lot. Did you like it?
I did like it, yeah. It's a good
Okay,
movie.
yeah. Yeah, I'm also very partial to kind of movies that are about aliens. I like those types of movies. Even
I do, yeah.
like the actions too, obviously, the Independence Days and like the alien invasion types movies. But there's not a lot of I mean, there's not a ton of horror movies that are about that. There is one called gosh, what's it called? Is it called Dark Skies? Have you ever watched that?
I don't think so.
And that's a crazy movie about like aliens like contacting a family, and then this family has to go and like try to figure out why these aliens are there, and there is some interesting little twists in that movie that I think are really good too. But I want to talk about some of my what the fuck moments, some of the moments where my jaw drops and I'm like, oh, did they just do that?
All
And the
right.
first movie I'm going to talk about, which I have three listed here, but the first one I'm going to talk about might be the one out of the three that I have listed that you may have seen, and it's The Mist. It's the Stephen King's The Mist movie with Thomas Jane and Andrew Brower.
Yeah, that's another one. I didn't watch it all the way through, but I've seen the ending of it.
Okay. And so
I mean, I just
how
spoiled.
fucked up the
Yeah.
ending is. Where and
Yes.
we'll go ahead and rehash this out for people. It's another movie that's probably getting close to about 20 years old. So spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't watched it. I'm going to spoil it for you right now. I do know that there are alternative endings. I have never watched them, but I watched the movie like when it came out on like DVD or whatever, right after it came in mid 2000s, late 2000s, whatever it was. And so for people that don't know, it's a big giant thick fog like comes through this town, and then these people are kind of like, what the hell's going on? And they all get stuck in, is it like a grocery store? Yeah, it's like a grocery store, I guess they get stuck in. And
I think so.
they don't really know what's going on, but then they start realizing that there's like giant creatures of some kind outside. And so it's, you get into like the dilemma of like, what do we do? And you're with all these people. Some you may know, some you don't know, just from the neighborhood or the town or whatever. And they're all stuck in this grocery store. And so then you have kind of like the whole drama of that ensues, right? Of what's happening inside. And then finally, they do end up escaping, four characters, and they're driving, and they run out of gas. And Thomas Jane's character, the main character, has a gun with three bullets in it, but there's four people in the car. And one of them is his son, his young son. And he kind of knows that this is the end of the line. If we get out, the creatures are going to get us. And so he shoots the other three people, right? And then what? It's probably within, I don't know, 10, 20, maybe 30 seconds at the most. He sees something approaching him, thinking it might be a creature, but it ends up being what, like the US Army or something, and they're there to save the day.
Yeah.
And so you have like this feeling of just like you're just deflated because for this character, because he literally just killed his son and two other people to save them, not realizing that the US Army was literally like 30 seconds away.
And
A lot of people hated that.
wasn't he going to like kill himself, but did he like run out of bullets or something?
Because he had three, and I think he just said, "I will take care of you guys, and I will figure it out." Like he was trying to be the hero, right? He was trying to be like, "Okay, well, I'll make it easy for you guys, and I'll shoot you guys,
And
and
I'll
then
let
I'll
the
just get
aliens
eaten.
rip me apart.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
just let them rip me apart." But yeah, it's my mom hated that ending. I know a lot of people hated that ending. I'm okay with stuff like that. I actually prefer things when they're not like I don't need the happy ever after. Like I don't know how you feel, but in that's just not that's in general. That doesn't necessarily mean horror movies, but it's in general. I don't really need that happy ever after type thing. I kind of prefer it when it's more fucked up. And in horror movies, you usually don't get that, right? Because they're always trying to do sequels. So even if you kill the guy who seems to be the villain who's unstoppable, and then you kill him, and then like the
Yeah.
police come, and then the body's gone, and then it's going to be, but he killed every other character, and you're the only one left.
Yeah.
It gets crazy. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, okay.
go ahead.
How I feel, well, yeah. The endings of movies like that, I sometimes if they're done well, I can respect them. Like I think The Mist is a movie where I can respect the ending,
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
do think it ruins somewhat of. I think it ruins some rewatchability for me
Oh,
because
yeah, yeah.
during a movie, well, I guess we just went over this with movies in general with twist endings. There sometimes that can harm rewatchability, especially if the movie tries to rest too hard on the laurels of its twist ending. So the whole movie is like this slow burn build up until this ending. But so yeah, so like a movie like The Mist, it's like I can see not wanting to go back and rewatch that as much as some other classic movies where I know the ending's going to be a feel good ending, and so the whole movie, it's like I can just have the comfort of the experience of like the ride because I know it's going to end. I know I'm going to like how it ends, so I don't have to think about it. I can just enjoy each moment. So that's kind of how I feel about it.
No, and I totally agree with you. And while we're a little bit on that subject, I want to talk about. I will get to the rest of the other two movies here that kind of had me my jaw dropped. But I Am Legend. You've seen I Am Legend?
I have seen I Am Legend. Yeah.
Okay, so it's really hard for me. I'm a big dog lover. I'm a big animal lover. So the dog scene when his dog gets turned into a zombie and he's really close to perfecting, this serum or whatever it is that would change people back or get rid of the zombie virus. And he tries it on the dog and it doesn't work and the dog comes after him, he has to kill him. That scene is really hard for me to rewatch. Like if I were to rewatch, I like the movie, but if I were to rewatch that movie again, and I have done this before, I will fast forward through that scene because I don't know. I'm like my mom because my mom is the same way. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Marley and Me, or, there's a lot of animal movies where the animal ends up dead at the end. Even Cujo, my mom was like, oh God, not Cujo. Why'd they have to kill him? And I'm like, well, he was kind of fucked up. I
Yeah.
mean, he had rabies, mom. But, it was, it's just it's really crazy how that happens. And this isn't a movie that really, but I wanted to mention it because I don't have it anywhere on my list. World War Z with Brad Pitt, which I keep hearing they want to do a sequel, and then I don't know what happened. But that is actually one of my favorite zombie movies too. Have you seen World War Z?
I have not seen World War Z.
Okay,
No.
that's a good one. I would recommend that one to you, and I don't think you would be as far as zombie movies goes. I mean, it's big budget. You kind of already know because
Yeah.
Brad Pitt's in it. But all right, so
Yeah.
let's go.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
I
What?
was just say I think I would enjoy it as well. From what I know about it, it's just
Yeah.
that the stars haven't aligned for me to watch it, so that's the
Right.
only reason why.
Right, I
Yeah.
gotcha. Well, if it's ever on any of your streaming devices and you see it, watch it up. I don't even know, like, because this time of year is where I actually start watching a lot of horror movies. So does Halloween not do that for you? You're just kind of like, eh.
Halloween, the day, like
Sorry, yeah, the holiday, not the movie.
the holiday.
Like, yeah, like in October in general, I usually start watching more horror movies. I'm not even really that big of a fan of Halloween, but I just feel like it's like I don't know, it's just something that gets my brain thinking, and I'm like, oh, it's almost Halloween, so I watch more horror movies.
Yeah, I don't indulge in as much in like the horror aspect of Halloween, like
Just the candy aspect.
yeah, like the devils and skeletons and witches and stuff like that. Yeah, it's like the candy, and then like outfits have always been like, when I was younger, I wanted to be like uh, an X-Man character, or like I say X-Man, I should have said X-Men. What's the right way to say it when you're just referring to one? I'm not sure.
Probably just X-Men. Yeah, I think that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, like a Men in Black person I was one year, and then there was one year, like Robin Hood or something, it's like something like that. Some sort of action
Gotcha.
kind of or
So you weren't
adventure.
anything like scary, is what you're saying. Like you weren't like
That's right. Yeah.
like a traditional Halloween like witch or whatever it is.
Exactly. Yeah. I've never been a devil for Halloween. Yeah.
Gotcha. Gotcha. All right. I want to talk about another movie, and it's actually a sequel to a movie. There was a movie. The original movie was called Feast, and it was in like I don't know, probably another mid 2000s movie. This movie was part of Project Greenlight, which was um a thing that Matt Damon and Ben Affleck did where people would submit their scripts and then they would pick one to make a movie out of. And they picked this one for that year. It's about these weird creatures, and people are in a bar, and these creatures are coming out and get them. And they kind of do this funny thing in the movie where every person that comes in, they kind of have like a narrative over it, or like words on the screen saying like whether that person's going to be hero or how long they have to live in the whole situation in the movie. and then usually it's wrong. Like they'll say this person's a hero, and then they get like killed like right away. And it's just kind of funny. But the movie's pretty gory, and I couldn't even describe the creatures. Like the creatures are like pretty tall and big, and I don't know, kind of got like a duck bill, and they eat, and a lot of times they peek out of these holes and watch what they're doing, and they're like fucking, like the creatures are fucking, and it's like really weird shit like that. But the second one is probably one of the most fucked up things I've ever seen in a movie. And so they're on the roof of this, because like there's three of them, but they all like take place in like the same time period, like 3 days or something. And so they're all on the roof. I don't remember if it's the roof of the bar or something else, but they're on the roof and they hear in one of the cars below in the parking lot that there's a baby crying. And so one of the guys is like, well, somebody's got to go down and save that baby. Somebody's got to get that baby. And so there's this guy who's trying to impress this girl or whatever. And he's not like the hero type, but he tries to go down there and he finds the baby and he's got the baby. But then all of a sudden, one of the creatures sees him and it starts running after him. So the guy's running with the baby in his hands and he realizes that the baby is slowing him down. So he throws the baby in the air. And there's a moment where you're like, oh, this dude's going to catch the baby again. I don't know why he's throwing it in the air, but he's going to catch that baby again. Nope.
Yeah.
All you hear is splat. And then literally you see the creatures go over and start eating this baby. And I was like, did they just fucking kill a baby? This, because I'd never seen that before. I was like, they stay away from like a lot of that shit.
Yeah.
And so that was one of those kind of jaw-dropping moments. But those kind of things in movies, when you can drop my jaw like that, it just makes that movie that much better. Should people be going out and grabbing babies and throwing them up in the air and just letting them splat on the pavement? Of course not. But we're not talking about real life. We're talking about movies. So that was one of the things. And then one of the newest movies, which was probably, I don't know, probably maybe 6 years ago, the movie Hereditary. In this movie, there is a kid who's got a sister, and his sister is asthmatic, I guess. Is that how you would say it? Asthmatic. She has
I think so.
asthma, and he's going to a party, and his mom's like telling him to take his sister because she doesn't get out very much. So they go out, or no, she's not asthmatic. I apologize. Even though I loved saying that word, she was allergic to something. I can't remember what it was. And so he goes and he brings her reluctantly to this party. He's trying to impress a girl. She eats something that she's not supposed to eat, that she doesn't realize has, whatever she's allergic to in it. So he realizes that she's having an allergic reaction, but he also realizes that they don't have, an EpiPen or something, like they don't have what they need to stop this. So he gets her in the car and she's doing that hyperventilating. She's not breathing right. And he's trying to drive as fast as he can. And he's kind of like it shows like this dirt road and it's nighttime and there's like nothing around. It's just like field around them. And to try to get air, she sticks her head out the window. And at that very moment, he drives right by a telephone pole and her head just comes clean off. And so that was just kind of like a fucked up moment too. And to make it even more fucked up is he kind of just sits there for a minute. I don't think he gathers her head, but he sits there for a minute in the car and he drives home and it's the middle of the night. Everybody else is sleeping, his parents are sleeping, and he just leaves the rest of her body in the back seat and he goes in his room and goes to sleep. And then obviously they discover everything in the morning. Very, very fucked up shit. But like I said, that's the kind of shit that will get me to really like the movie. Do you like if you were to watch horror movies and that kind of shit happened, like would that turn you off more to the movie, or would you be like, oh, okay, well that's interesting. They did something that they don't normally do.
It wouldn't necessarily turn me off, in the typical way that you would imagine. I think that, yeah, it'd be fine to watch that. I mean, it would be really interesting and surprising, and sure, it would be head turning, or head knocking or whatever is appropriate there.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know, but it wouldn't make me more likely to watch the movie at the same time. So I don't know.
Gotcha.
It's kind of in between.
You're kind of just like meh with it, with everything,
Yeah.
with it. No,
I
I
just
get it.
like feeling good. I like feeling good. I
Right.
guess when I watch a movie, it's like I want to have feel good scenes, you know? I want
I got you. I
I
got
want
you.
some underdog to win, or I want some like the
But they
hero
have
to, I
underdogs in
guess,
horror movies.
yeah, sure they do. Yeah, so I don't know. I guess I'm
Okay.
wrong. I'm a
No,
liar.
no, I'm
All
just
right,
saying. I'm
keep
just
going.
saying. All right.
I don't know.
All right. Well, those are the three movies I wanted to bring up because I love those kind of scenes. And I think that, like you had said, like we're talking about The Mist. We we had talked about Shutter Island and about how you were kind of indifferent to the ending, but it must have worked because we're still talking about it, right? So I think that
Exactly, yeah.
that's the case. It's like if you can talk about those things, that's the case. And so I think even with M. Night Shyamalan's The Sixth Sense, I think that, it probably still did good for him to have people talking about it like that. Now, were there a lot of people that probably gave up the ending? Yeah, and it probably, screwed it up for people. And they probably shouldn't have done that. It's like, no, you should probably just go watch this movie. So it is interesting. But I want to talk about Poltergeist. Now, have you ever seen Poltergeist?
No.
Okay. Have you ever heard anything about the Poltergeist curse?
No, is that the movie is that the what's the classic movie where there's, like, a TV screen?
Yes. Yeah, and they built their house. They realized that their house is built on an ancient Native American burial ground and that it's haunted. And the poltergeist is kind of like a Native American thing where all these spirits come up and haunt because you're not supposed to be there. You're on their land, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So the girl that played Carrie Ann, who's the little girl that is mainly affected in the movie, her real name was Heather O'Rourke. She started in the first two movies, or did she star in the third one too? I can't remember if it was just the first two or the third one. She died when she was 12. She had some kind of bowel obstruction, and I think it was like a misdiagnosis of Crohn's disease. They said she had Crohn's disease, but what she actually had was a bowel obstruction, and it took so long that it ended up leading to a septic shock, and she died from it. And then there's the girl that played her older sister in the first movie, who was I think 22 at the time, Dominique Dunne, or I'm not sure if it's Dunn, it's Dunne, so I don't know if it's Dunn or Dunne. But she played Dana, her sister, in the first movie, and she got killed by her boyfriend. Her boyfriend choked her to death right after that movie. It was like her first movie too, and she was 22, and she died after a few days in the hospital. There was some other people. Let me read this here. Okay, and then there was Julian Beck, the actor who played the preacher in the second Poltergeist. He died. I think it was just a natural death, even though people relate it to the poltergeist there's. And then the poltergeist curse. Richard Lawson. He was originally from the original poltergeist, and he didn't die. But this is an interesting story. It was like a reverse curse for him because in 1992 he boarded a flight 405 to Cleveland. He had celebrity status. So he ended up getting a ticket. A fangirl in the flight, sorry, moved his coach seat up to first class. The plane then later crashed into a bay after a failed takeoff, trapping everyone in their seats. And if he would have sat in the seat that he was originally supposed to, he would have died. But because he switched seats. So it's just kind of like an interesting little thing
Yeah.
like that. And then you have Will Sampson, who played kind of the good guy in Poltergeist 2. He struggled with illness and died just a little bit after that. And then Jo Beth Williams, who played the mom, she didn't die from the. She might. I think she's still alive, but she said that she was having a lot of. They were using real skeletons. They said she said that they were really using real people said skeletons, and that she felt like she had ghosts or something following her home. And so it was all interesting to me just to kind of read this. Obviously, I don't believe it's a full poltergeist curse. There's a lot of coincidences. They redid Poltergeist in, I think, I don't know, 8, 10 years ago, maybe. Sam Rockwell played the dad. Everybody from that movie is fine and doing fine. But they
Yeah.
probably didn't. There is a little bit of weird thing with this Jo Beth Williams thing because she talks about how they used like the real skeleton and that's just kind of like it's like, are you trying to like our directors or whatever, are they trying to make it even like I realize that sometimes they want to get a genuine fear reaction from actors and actresses so they won't tell them certain things or whatever it is. But
Yeah.
using a real skeleton is just kind of bizarre to me. And you feel like you're only asking for trouble, right? Like you don't want to mess with like the unseen forces, whether you believe in them or not. I feel like there's just kind of that general idea.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit about the poltergeist curse. It's kind of interesting. There's actually more to it that people want to delve into that and check it out. But that is Poltergeist is one of my favorite. Well, yeah, it's actually one of my favorite movies. Craig T. Nelson's character, who played Coach in the series Coach. I remember the moment where he's I don't know doing something at his bathroom and he's got a mirror in front of him and then he looks down and he looks back up and his face is crumbling in the mirror, but in real life it's not. It's kind of like, you know, an illusion or whatever. So just kind
Yeah.
of weird shit like that because I think every horror movie they're always trying to do something to change the game a little bit. But
Yeah. And also, it seems like it's a common trope to make you second guess reality.
right.
Like, am I watching somebody in a dream or is this real life? Or, every time somebody's jump scared, it's like, they're like, ah, and then it turns out it's just like their best friend is behind them. And they're like, hey, you're too jumpy, and then it's one of
Right.
those things.
Right.
So I see that trope a lot. Yeah. And yeah, just making you second guess reality of like, are they just having a vision? And are you seeing something in the mirror that's real or is it just in your head?
And I think you see that a lot with psychological type horrors too and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Which I don't know if I like that too much. It kind of annoys me when I'm watching a movie and like 10 minutes of content gets erased by somebody having a dream.
Oh yeah,
Um
the dream
yeah,
sequence
cuz
type thing. Yeah.
it feels like it's just wasting my time.
It's a cop
Cuz
out.
all that yeah, it's a cop out. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's like an old trope. I think Family Guy made fun of that, where I think there was an episodes where Stewie killed Lois, and then Lois like came back and then killed Stewie, and then you find out it's just it's actually him like putting on like these I don't know what it was like he's seeing the like seeing running a simulation I guess is what it was, and then there's kind of a funny part where Brian's like. Well, isn't that like when like people have like a whole movie and then it's like a dream? And he's like, no, 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 it's not the same thing. And he's like, no, I think it's the same thing. So they're kind of making fun of
Yeah.
that.
The only time that I did like it when something like that happened, I don't know, did you ever watch Rick and Morty? Any Rick and Morty
Love Rick and
cartoons?
Morty. That could be a whole
Okay.
episode.
Yeah. I love Rick. I haven't seen a lot of like the newest episodes, so I'm kind of behind. But like, especially like the first original, just like whole run of episodes, that they had for a while. There was one though, that kind of did that, but I did like it, and it was the one where Morty was on like a VR machine where it was like a life, and so he runs through this whole life, has a wife and kids, and he
Oh
gets
yeah.
old, and he's like in like a carpet shop or something like that, and then he falls, and it's like, phew, and it, like his score pops up on the screen and then, he's back into reality and he's like, oh my gosh, where's my, and he has to like reacclimate to like where reality is because he just lived an entire life. And so I didn't mind that. Like that, I think that's a good way to do it because it still was like, it wasn't just a dream. It was like there was still something happening that affected him even after he came back. He was like, oh my gosh, I just lived a whole life. I thought that was kind of fun. So
Yeah.
that's a little sidebar.
Well, yeah, and Rick and
Yeah.
Morty, like, I mean, I don't want to, like, they have some crazy shit on that show, right? So, and you
Yeah.
don't even know, like, what's going on because, like, there's been so many clones or, like, they've, like, they've killed themselves so many times, like, other versions of themselves so many times. So it's, like, it's insane. But yeah, that could definitely be a whole different podcast if we wanted it to be. But that will be for another time. And you know what? You know what time it is, Brandon?
What time is it?
It's time for our fake sponsors. It's time.
Sorry, I didn't mean to play it twice. All right. It is time for our fake sponsors. Our podcast is fake sponsored by Our Jelly. Our Jelly will stand above the rest and leave a lasting taste in your mouth. It's time to get showered with some streams of goodness by Our Jelly. Our Jelly, you're in for a good time. We are also fake sponsored by Nipple Toes. Got nipples on your toes? No? Just me? Well, grab a meat slicer and head on over. I need to get rid of these damn things. Nipple Toes. They're not a secret anymore. You have nipple toes, Brandon?
I don't think I do.
Okay, it's good. I think I'm the only one.
Yeah.
We are going to play a game. It's the Guess the Movie Quote game. And considering that we are talking about horror movies, it is, of course, going to be catered to that. So I have 5 quotes. I think you have 5 quotes for me. And I have multiple choice. And we are going to go back and forth and see if we can guess the movie that these quotes are from, the horror movies. So would you like to begin?
Yeah, I'll begin. I think mine are going to be really easy, but I don't know because I haven't seen a lot of horror movies. So, and you know what? That's fine. I hope they are easy, actually.
And I was going to say that, like, it was actually kind of tough. I was kind of hoping you wouldn't make yours easy, and I probably should have maybe messaged you and let you know because I was like, you know what? I'm probably going to have to make yours easy because you haven't seen a lot of horror movies. So, but we'll see what happens and we'll go with it because we don't plan anything here, folks. This is how we roll. We just go with the flow.
This is off the cuff,
Yeah.
and uh, and I have another. I don't know if I should give you this confession or if I should just roll with it. But
Okay.
is that I don't have my multiple choice ready because I forgot about that part. So I just have the quote, and then I was going to give you the quote and be like, okay, what movie is this from? I think though
We could
I have a
try it
lot
that
of quotes
way.
though, and
Yeah.
well, I have a lot of quotes that I'm not using a lot of them, so I can give you. It wouldn't be that hard for me to give you multiple options if we want to
Gotcha.
keep doing that.
All right. Well, hit me with your best
Okay,
shot.
I know these got. I hope these are softball pitches. I really do. Okay, how about this? I want you to get an extra point if you can guess it before I give you multiple choice,
Sounds good.
or maybe you can just do it just for clout, just for the kudos,
I want
whatever
that.
you
I
want.
want that kudos.
Okay, you'll get kudos, extra point. Number one. Okay, here's the quote. Do you like scary movies? And then
Well,
the rest of it is, what's your favorite? What's your favorite scary movie?
okay. So this is Scream, obviously, and the crazy thing is that was my first one to you. And so now I only have
That's
4
funny.
because I didn't do extra. But by the way,
No,
really quick, I want to say
it's
that
such a great opener though for the
it
quiz, isn't
is.
it? It's
And
such a great.
then it's
Yeah.
Drew Barrymore in the first one, and that was kind of shocking to people because you think that she's going to be the main character and then she's killed in the first scene. But mine was going to be like, do you like scary movies? And then I did something funny where I had 3 of the answers are real movies, and the fourth one is a real movie, but it's a totally different genre. So I was actually going to say, hey, Brandon, do you like scary movies? Is it A, I Know What You Did Last Summer, B, Scary Movie, C, Scream, or D, Asaconda? Which is a wonderful movie if you're into that kind of stuff. So the fourth
Yeah,
movie is
I
going to
don't.
be a porn
Yeah.
movie, a porn parody
Oh,
version of a horror movie.
is that going to continue? Is that going to be how all of them are? I hope.
All of them are that way. Yes. So
Okay, but
that'll
not
be
the
fun.
fourth. It could be the fourth, could be the third, could be second, could be first. Or no, that's okay.
No,
I'll
it
know
is going
when
to
I
be the
hear it when
fourth
I.
because I think
Yeah.
when you hear the rest, you're going to be like, well,
Yeah.
obviously that's not a, you know,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah.
but I will go, I
All
guess,
right, you
with my,
got that point.
all right.
Do you have
So
any extras
I
that
don't have
to fill
extras.
that?
I should have made extras. It took me a real long time to even do this because I was
No,
trying to figure out what you would know. So here I've got one
I
for
would
you.
not have known that. I would not have known that either.
Really? Wow.
No,
All right.
it's just not doesn't stick out.
Okay. Well, I don't know if this is going to stick out. I'm hoping this is a movie you've seen. We haven't discussed it yet, so that's kind of a clue. Whether you're
Okay.
not, you can remember everything we've discussed thus far. But it's and let me kind of try to say it like he would say it. And it says, we take Pete's car, we drive over to Mum's, we go and take care of Philip. I'm so sorry, Philip. Then we grab Mum, we go over to Liz's place, hole up, have a nice cup of tea, and wait for all this to blow over. Okay. Would you do you want to hear that again, or you?
No, but I mean, it sounds like something from Zombieland, but I don't know. You keep going.
Okay.
I don't know.
That is, I will, well, there are just understand like the key points of like the key words in there. So, right, we take Pete's car, we drive over to Mum's, we go in, take care of Philip. I'm so sorry, Philip. Then we grab Mum, we go over to Liz's place, hole up, have a nice cup of tea, and wait for all this to blow over. So, is it A, So I Married an Axe Murderer? Is it B, Shaun of the Dead? Is it C, Blade? Or is it D, Silence of the Loins?
Well, I don't know if it's Sound to the Loins, but I'm gonna not go with that one. I think based on this line, it sounds like Shaun of the Dead. It sounds like the kind of line that would come from Shaun of the Dead.
It is Shaun of the Dead. Have you seen that movie?
I have not seen it, but I'm aware of that, like the British sort of comedy. I don't know if it's British comedy, but it came. I know those actors,
Right. Simon Pegg and Nick Frost.
Simon Pegg, yeah, and I know they had a series of movies where like didn't they have like a Hot Fuzz?
Mm-hmm.
It's Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah,
And
and
I want to say they
the
had like
third one
another
is
one
At World's End, I think is what it's called.
at World's End.
Yeah.
Yes.
Great movie. Shaun of the Dead is the best one, and it's a really, really good movie, just kind of a parody of Dawn of the Dead, but gore, comedy, everything you could want in it, kind of like a Tucker and Dale type movie. But all right. So
Nice.
you got that
And
one.
when he says "I'm so sorry," Philip, like I'm imagining the camera doing a quick pan to like the back seat, and then a quick pan back to their head, because like that was like the camera angles they would use a lot in those
Yeah,
movies. I
yeah,
noticed.
yeah, it was weird. All right, what do you got for
Okay.
me?
All right. So okay, let's see if you get this. He's not human, and he's not a man. Whatever he is, he's coming for you.
Is it Boogeyman?
It's not Boogeyman. Do you want me to give you a multiple choice here?
Yeah, give me a multiple choice because this quote's not clicking for me.
Okay. Okay. All right, just give me 1 second here.
All right.
Is it When a Stranger Calls? Is it so When a Stranger Calls is A. B is Halloween, H2O, and C is Freddy vs. Jason.
Halloween H2O.
That's correct. It is
All
Halloween. What
right.
made you think of that?
I'm trying to just think of like I don't remember that from the movie, and I will say that out of all the Halloweens, that's probably not one of the greater ones. But I was trying to think, okay, who would say that? And I don't know if that's his therapist, or if that's I know Jamie Lee Curtis was back for the Halloween H2O one. I don't know if she said that, but I was just trying to think if like that's how they would describe Jason, is like he's not really a man. Yeah, because that's another thing with these movies is like you think that they're just regular human beings, but there's something like supernatural about them, right? Where they can't die, or at least it takes a lot for them to die, or whatever it is. But
Yeah. Well, that was good. I think that was a bit of a harder one, right? And it was kind of what the movie isn't like a staple in the genre, right? So it's
no, not really. I would say that a lot of people probably forgot about Halloween H2O. And of course, they've had a plenty since then. You know, if we were talking like Halloween H2O came out last year, that'd be a different story. But there's been Rob
yeah.
Zombie took over and did a couple of them in the late 2000s. So yeah, I think it was good. Yeah, and I think Halloween H2O was like maybe late 90s. I don't know. All right. Well, here's one for you, and I will give you a. I feel like this is classic. I don't know, but I also feel like Do You Like Scary Movies is classic. So I don't know how much you're going to get, but we have discussed this movie. So hopefully that's enough. And it's only 2 words, this quote. And the quote is, "They're here." And A, Poltergeist. B, Predator. C, Snakes on a Plane. Or D, A Cockwork Orange.
This has got to be a softball pitch, right? Because Snakes on a Plane and Predator, are those horror?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I would
All right.
say
Well,
that, yeah,
I'm going to go Poltergeist. I
right. And
feel like I remember. Yeah.
I did realize that when I said we had discussed this, I was like, well, I don't think we've discussed the other two. So I actually just kind of gave him the answer.
Yeah, I did.
But I
I
mean,
would
I
have
think
still
I
guessed
said
it.
Predator, but I haven't talked anything
Yeah.
about Snakes on a Plane. But yeah, it's kind of like crossing genres. I'm sure if you looked up Predator, it'd probably would say horror, but it'd probably also say what, like action or whatever it is. Yeah, that's
That is
definitely
still, yeah,
Carrie
that's an
Ann looking
iconic
at the
line.
TV screen saying they're
Yeah.
here. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Now, what's funny is I remember that line being iconic. I can kind of see it in my head in the way
right,
you said it, but I wouldn't know exactly what classic horror movie it was from
right.
but since we discussed it and you had Poltergeist in that list, then I was able to guess that. But otherwise, I would have just thought of it as a generic, like classic line, but I wouldn't have been sure what movie.
Gotcha. All right. Well,
Okay.
hit me with another one.
All right, here we go. All right, this is quote. This is number 3 that I have for you. I am the devil, and I'm here to do the devil's work.
Gosh, that line sounds familiar. I am the devil and I'm here to do the devil's work. All right, I think you're gonna have go ahead.
And well, let me give you a little hint before I give you multiple
Okay,
choice.
okay.
You just oh, this is going to be a big hint. I'll give it to you anyway, though. I think you just mentioned very recently the name of the director of this movie.
Night?
No.
It's not
Okay,
M
let me give
Night?
you multiple choice.
Stephen
Let me
King?
give you. No, no, no. But you
Okay.
just mentioned the name though, but you
Okay.
forgot it because you mentioned it in passing so fast.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Okay, so is this let me cue up some of this. Is this Orphan? Is this The Nun or is it The Devil's Rejects?
Is it the Nun?
It's not. It's The Devil's Rejects.
Is it the Devil's Rejects? Okay. You know, I was thinking because I don't remember talking about Devil's Rejects, and I was actually thinking that, but then you got me too on to the point where I
The
was
director.
right, I mentioned Rob Zombie. Got you. Got you. Okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking that you said that you meant I mentioned the movie, and last night we were talking about some movies, and I did mention The Nun. So I was like, well, is it The Nun? That wouldn't really make
No,
sense.
no.
But okay, Devil's Rejects.
Well,
Oh,
maybe I
he
wasn't.
does say that. I remember that line now too. Damn it. Yeah, I remember it now. I remember. Great movie. I actually love that movie. I thought it was a great movie for Rob Zombie, but he made that one so good that the rest kind of sucked. They weren't as good.
Yeah, it says the breakdown. It says it was mid massacre. Otis declares this chilling manifesto to his victims an homage to Charles Manson's madness.
Yeah, and yeah, that was a fucked up family that Ram Zombie created in those movies. All right, I've got one that I know for sure you've watched this movie, which I probably just gave it away again because I keep
Yeah,
forgetting that I'm. But whatever, because I have like 2 quotes from this movie, and the first quote I think is pretty easy, so I'm going to say this one: "How much blood will you shed to stay alive, Michael? Live or die? Make your choice." A. Texas Chainsaw Massacre. B. Hostel. C. Saw. Or D, The Sexorcist.
I think it's 2 or 3. How much blood you shed to stay alive, Michael? That sounds like a challenge. The reason why I'm thinking it could be Saw. What did you say was it the first Saw? Is that the option?
Yes, yes.
The reason why it could be that is because that there's in I haven't seen Hostel, but my understanding is that it's a movie where people go there unknowingly and then they have bad things done to them. Whereas in Saw it's more like a challenge where it's like, are you willing to endure this in order to get this so that we can have your freedom? And so just based on that logic, I think I have to go with Saw. I'm not sure though, but I'm going to go with Saw.
You are correct, because the other quote I had was, "I want to play a game." And I don't know, would you have got it if I just would have said that? Would you have known instantly then if I said, "I want to
I
play a
think I
game"?
would have, because that's one of the quotes for you that I had looked over. I know I'm not giving you that one, but
Right.
it's one of the ones that I had looked at. Play a game quote. Yeah.
All right. All right. All right. Well, hit me with another one.
Okay. I do not deserve to be winning this, by the way. So
No, that's all
if
right.
it is, I definitely don't
I
deserve
feel
it.
like at
Okay, here we
break,
go.
I feel like I screw it up beforehand because I'll be like, "Oh, you've mentioned this, and it's the only movie you've seen," and it's like, well, I just gave it away.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's funny is that when I'm looking up these quotes, it's actually hard for me to know if it's a good quote or not because I haven't seen most of these. So the quote might actually be uh, not memorable
Right.
for the movie.
Right.
So,
Well, I will
or the
say
movie
that the
itself
last
might
one
not be
is
popular.
memorable. The Devil's Rejects one is memorable. I got two in my head on that one.
I see. Okay. All right. Okay. So this is quote number 4 here that I have for you. You ever get that feeling that something in the room with us, something watching us? Yeah. You ever get that feeling that something in the room with us, something watching us? All right. Here's the multiple choice options. Is it A, The Conjuring? Is it B, Hellraiser Bloodline? Or is it C, Scream 2?
Scream 2.
No, it's The Conjuring. It's from The
I am
Conjuring.
second guessing myself because I wanted to say The Conjuring, and I'm like, I don't
It's,
know. It almost sounds like, because Scream can be comedic at times, right? Like in a kind of meta where they're starting talking about like the rules of like the serial killers and stuff. And so I was like, well,
yeah,
maybe it's like that kind of comedic thing, like way he was saying it. So yeah, I'm getting too much into my head with it.
man. It's the scene setup says paranormal investigator Lorraine senses the entity before it reveals itself. The quiet dread builds before any jump scare. So that is the scene.
Gotcha. All right.
Well,
Well,
shoot.
I'm not as good as I thought I was. That's okay. I'll cry about later. Don't worry, guys. Don't worry,
I
people. I have a lot of
think
yeah.
it's my fault. I think
No,
it's my
you're all
fault.
right. You're
There's
all right.
no way. There's yeah. Okay, yeah.
You know what? I can talk about this all day and be like, man, I wasn't very good at this. But at the end of the day, I still have nipple toes, and that's way worse. So that's what
Or
matters, right?
better, depending on
Yeah, it could be better
yeah.
if you want to. I just ask people to come over and suck on my toe. All right, here's my last one because the first one I we kind of doubled up on. But this one's a pretty. I think this is a pretty common quote, like that people should remember. That most people would know. Okay, so the quote is, "We're going to need a bigger boat." Is it from A?
Jaws.
You didn't even.
Yeah, I
I
knew that.
couldn't even. Okay, so let me just say what
Oh
they
yeah,
are.
no. Sorry. Actually, is it Jaws? I don't know. Give me
Okay,
the
so
multiple
it's, is
choice.
it A, Ghost Ship, B, Jaws, C, Piranha, or D, E.T. the extra testicle?
See, now I'm not sure
Yeah,
because the ET one.
threw you off, right?
Yeah,
That three testicled man named E.T.
yeah. I got to go with Jaws.
You're right. You're right. Yeah, that's pretty iconic, I think. And I figured, I was like, well, I hope he knows this one because I feel like most people would know that one. Most older, like people that aren't like under 20 or whatever. All right, hit me with the. I think you got one more for me.
Man, I'm embarrassed now. Okay, here we go. This is the last one. Number 5. Question number 5. Let's see if you can get it right. And here it is. It's not the house that's haunted. It's your son.
I would guess things like, I'm going to throw a couple of guesses out, and then if they aren't right, I'll let you throw me some multiple choice. I would do the first guess I'd probably say is The Omen. The second guess, Insidious, maybe?
Insidious is correct. That is the one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think you got that. I would say you got that one.
Yeah.
Insidious is correct. The scene setup says the psychic medium reframes everything. The haunting isn't attached to the home, but to the boy himself. And so, yeah, Insidious. Yeah. So, what made you think of that, or how do you feel about Insidious?
Good movie. I remember because there's a and I don't know, it's not part of the I keep thinking it's part of the Conjuring universe, but it's not, because one of the same guys, one of the same actors plays in Insidious. And it's I remember the further is what they call it. Like it's like this different dimension called the further, and like the son was being haunted. And I do remember that quote. I was just trying to figure out, because at first I was like, well, this could be an Omen quote, like, you know. but maybe not. And then, yeah, then that's when I figured out Insidious. So all right. I don't.
All right.
I mean, I think I did not. I didn't do too bad, but there was some things
So
where I was in my own head.
you got 3 out of 5. 2 of them you guessed them without multiple choice, so that's like an extra point. That's really like 5 points right there out of 5.
I like that.
So what can you really say about that now?
Nothing. Just don't call me Nipple Toes. Actually, go ahead. I think that'd be a good nickname for me to have online. Nipple toe, like maybe like your what do they call it? Like the knuckle of your toe. I don't even know what the toe knuckle is. It just called the toe knuckle, like where it bends.
I think so. Yeah, toe
Like
knuckle.
if that were like look like a nipple, maybe that'd be like interesting.
I call them my toe hooks.
Right. Right. What do you call the reverse of your elbow, like the inside? Do you call that your elbow pit? Because that's what I call it.
Yeah, elbow pit.
Yeah.
Very similar to the leg pit, but a little different.
Right. Yeah. Maybe
Yeah.
the knee pit. Maybe I don't know if
Yeah,
that's
well, I
what
was
it would.
thinking of more like the more like the thigh pit.
The thigh pit. Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. On to this nonsensical shit. Let's get back to the horror movies a little bit. I want to discuss some horror movies that I've watched and that I've seen that have kind of influenced me and that I like. And I'm going to give a list here, and it's going to be a long list. So the first one I want to talk about, I don't really want to talk about these all in general. I do want to, I want to say Ghost Ship, and there's the beginning of Ghost Ship where it takes place in the old times. I don't know why I said old times. People are like, what the hell are you talking about? Just like years before. And there was like, it's like a cruise ship maybe, and they're all on the deck having a good time. And there's like this wire that's kind of up above them. And somehow like the wire gets, I don't know, it goes down and starts moving. And so it cuts everybody in half at the beginning of the movie, or like some in half, some at their neck. And it's just this crazy it's one of the craziest beginnings of a movie. And when I saw that, I was like, okay, I'm in for this. So Ghost Ship was kind of, I think it's like maybe late 90s. So that was kind of one that really kind of got me into liking horrors too. Saw, obviously, that started a whole franchise and that became so popular. Paranormal Activity with the found footage type horror, which Blair Witch Project is also in here. And then you have Hostel, The Autopsy of Jane Doe, which I thought was a great kind of more obscure movie. Have you ever seen Donnie Darko with Jake
Yeah, I've seen
Gyllenhaal?
done it. Yeah.
Donnie Darko. I'm not really sure if you would consider that horror, but I put it in here. It's definitely kind of like a psychological thriller, right? Like something like that. And there's time kind of like times like not really a time machine, but fluctuating time is involved. Really, I feel like it's an underrated movie. I also think it's a cult classic for a lot of people, but very good. Did
Yeah.
you like that movie? It's very
Yeah, I
weird.
liked it.
It is weird.
It's I think it's very good too for like I just read an article about this. It's so weird about Donnie Darko about how like it's the movie that so many teens going through this young adults or teens or whatever. I think I was probably a teenager around the time this movie came out
Right.
and but it's like it wraps up this like teen angsty kind of like the feeling like you're the center of the universe or but at the same time you're powerless because you got this whole world and you're just trying to become an adult and it's like the movie is also special in its own right because it's very interesting. But it was always attached to like this like certain type of person that I dated this girl that was like it was like her favorite movie, and it was because there's something about the movie that makes you sort of like makes you feel special in a way of like maybe I could be the one where it's like the entire universe is hinging on like my decision. So I think that's
Right.
the feeling that I get from Donnie Darko. But it's a good movie.
It's a great movie, and I believe it was probably Jake Gyllenhaal, one of his earliest, I'm assuming.
Breakout role, yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
and actually quite a few different stars kind of pop up in that, I think. But yeah, then Evil Dead, obviously, Psycho, we already talked about. Have you ever watched Maximum Overdrive, which is a Stephen King movie from the 80s where all of the cars and machinery and stuff have their own brain and start going after the humans? Have, kind of one of those, it's kind of campy, but it's kind of good. 13 Ghosts. It Follows, which I think has kind of a cult. I think they have a second one of It Follows coming. Candyman, The Strangers, Dawn of the Dead, Shaun of the Dead, of course. Scary Movie, even though it's more like a comedy parody, but I threw Scary Movie in there anyways. I don't know how many of the Scary Movies you've seen, if you've seen any of them, but they're kind of different. We discussed Tucker and Dale vs. Evil. How about Christine? Have you seen Christine? The Stephen King movie about it's like the possessed car that like just keeps running people down and stuff. And then there's The Thing, The Blob, Predator. I know we discussed earlier whether Predator was really horror, but I threw it on there. VHS, Jaws, It, The Omen, The Exorcist, Carrie, Get Out. Have you seen Get Out?
Yeah, I have seen Get Out.
Get
Yeah.
Out's a great movie that kind of tackles racism and things like that. And Jordan Peele, by the way, I think is awesome. Alien, E.T., Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I'm not even sure if E.T. would be like a horror movie either, but I threw it in there. Close Encounters of the Third Kind, another one where I'm not really sure if it's a horror movie, but a good movie. Signs, The Others. The Others had one of those endings too, and I don't know if you've ever seen The Others. I think it's with Nicole Kidman, but she thinks her house is possessed with ghosts, and so she calls like a medium or something to come in. You know, you're going back and forth with stuff, and in reality, in the end of the movie, you find out that Nicole Kidman and her family are actually the ghost, and there's the families that they think are the ghosts are the real family trying to get rid of them out of the house. So it's kind of an interesting take on horror. And so I really did like when they did that because I don't think anybody had done that before. 10 Cloverfield Lane was good. American Psycho with Christian Bale is a good movie. The Shining, House of a Thousand Corpses, Wrong Turn, The Hills Have Eyes, The Conjuring, I Spit on Your Grave, The Terrifier, which all three movies are insane. Art the Clown is just a crazy, insane demon-like character. The Collector, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and Zombieland. I'm assuming you've seen Zombieland.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Good movie.
again, I'm not really sure how. I mean, I guess it is horror. You're dealing with zombies, but did you like that movie then?
I did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you a big
It's because it
Jesse
I'm a
Eisenberg
big what?
fan?
I like Jesse
I
Eisenberg.
do
Yeah,
too. Yeah,
I
I
do.
do. I do like him.
Yeah. I thought he's been great in so many things. Facebook.
Social Network,
Yeah, I just called it.
Facebook,
That's the
Facebook, the
actual name.
movie.
What else has he been in that's been good? I know he's been in some other movies, but
He
yeah,
plays Snowden.
Now You See Me.
Now, I love those movies, both of those movies. Did he play Snowden or was that Joseph Gordon-Levitt?
Joseph. That
Okay.
was Joseph
Another
Gordon-Levitt.
great
Yeah.
actor. And then one of the last ones I want to mention here is Cabin in the Woods. And I think this one you would really like because it's kind of a meta horror. And what happens is these people, is this Chris Hemsworth's in this movie right before he got Thor, I think. So this was before I think Thor is really what kind of catapulted him into stardom too. So it's about these kids that go to this cabin that happens to be in the woods and they, and then they're kind of, just doing their thing, having a party. You know how it is. Like it's always like a group of like teenage kids and they're going to have sex and they're going to do drugs and they're going to drink and they're going to party and then obviously something bad's going to happen. But what this movie is that there's like this underground place where these scientists are and they know that these kids are there. They actually made it so they would be there. And then they kind of choose there's all things around the house to where is what's going to determine what's going to haunt them. And they happen to choose and they make bets on it in this like science facility. They're like, okay, who's gonna pick like what's gonna haunt them? And I think it ends up being like zombies and stuff. But you get like this other side where it's this meta version where these people, these scientists are in this kind of place watching everything happen and they are controlling it. Like and then these characters figure out like the characters in the movie like that are in this cabin in the woods, a couple of them die or whatever, and they find out that they're actually a part of this meta version and they go down because there's like this big glass thing that comes up out of the ground and these zombies come out and they see that. So they go down there and they realize that there's this whole fucking giant warehouse of all these crazy fucking things. There's like this weird merman, there's vampires, there's slashing serial killer, like all these crazy things that are there to scare them if they chose that when they were in the cabin. And this movie basically, I guess I'm going to tell you all of it. So whether you want to watch it or not, basically what it comes down to is that they actually do this in different countries. And in Japan, I think they have it in like Japan and somewhere else. And these hauntings have to work. They have to end up killing everybody because it actually is a sacrifice for a giant god that controls Earth. And the Japanese one and these other people, the kids fight back and the sacrifice doesn't work. So these guys in America are like the last hope. And so they're trying to make sure that these people die. In the end, these people kind of figure out they actually end up letting all these fucking crazy creatures out, and they all come out and start killing all the scientists. And then these two main characters kind of survive, but at the very end, they're met by Sigourney Weaver of all people, and her character kind of tells them that Earth has been ruled by this god, and if we don't sacrifice virgins, because one of them's like supposed to be a virgin, even though she's like, I'm not a virgin, and she's like, well, we take that term kind of loosely now, we don't really mean literally a virgin
Right.
anymore. And so they realize that, you know that they're not going to die. It's a dude and a girl, and he ends up saving her. And then they realize, they're like, well, maybe that's just all shit. Maybe they're just saying that. And then at the very end, this big giant hand like comes out of the ground, covers everything, and just squashes them. And that's the end of the movie. And you're just like, wow, it's like this meta flick that's different. And I really enjoyed that
That's
movie.
crazy.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, that sounds fun.
yeah, it's really enjoyable.
When you mentioned that there was like people like you go, what is it? You go down into something under the house or
Yeah, it's like
something?
everything's underneath. Like all these scientists and stuff are underneath, and like
Oh,
so
you
it's
reminded me of like what was that like sort of I think it was geared towards kids. There was a movie about monsters under a bed, but like you go under there and it's like a whole world of
Little
monsters. Is
Monsters.
that what it's called? Howie Mandel?
Howie Mandel played the main monster, and it was Little Fred Savage who played the main character. Great movie back in the
Yeah.
day. I loved that movie. Yeah, where they went down in this
I've
monster world, and they had to be back up at a certain time, or they would turn into monsters themselves. Yeah,
mm,
great movie. I guess I never even thought of that one. I guess I didn't really think of it as a horror because it's not really that horror. But if you're a little kid watching that, that could be kind of scary.
yeah.
Definitely.
I think it was. I remember being a little bit scared by that idea of that
Yeah,
movie.
yeah.
Yeah, it was a little bit unsettling. I will say. I was just remembering a movie. I think this is more thriller, but that maybe has horror movie genre elements that I have seen a couple times and I really do like. And it's an older movie, but Robert De Niro. Do you know what I'm going to say? He did a movie called no. He did a movie called Cape Fear. Do you remember that?
Okay, yeah. Okay, I went a little too
Yeah.
back too far. Yeah, Cape Fear was a good movie.
Yeah, and I do like Cape Fear. Would you say that does that even share the horror genre, or is that just more like thriller, drama
I don't
thriller?
know, because back in the day they probably would separate them, but I think everything's so intertwined nowadays that, you can look up a movie on IMDb or something and it's going to say like five different genres and you're like, okay, whatever, I guess it's all these genres. So I would say I think that whatever the first thing you say, it's probably more of that. So I would say it's a thriller horror, right? Like cuz it's more of a thriller.
Thriller horror. His personality, Robert De Niro's character, was done so well in that movie because there's elements of it that remind you of certain people that you know in real life that sort of have that personality that a little bit rubs you the wrong way because it's a little bit too outgoing, a little bit too much in your face and taking up your space. But most of those people don't end up being psychopaths who will like tie themselves to the bottom of your van when you're taking a trip.
Right,
But
right.
but it's just like it plays off that idea of like that like kind of unpleasant character that is like you just kind of have try to have a short interaction with and let them be on their day. But like now imagine them attaching themselves to your life and becoming this like stalker type person who will stop at nothing in the end, you know. And the scene where he's the iconic scene I think where he's going down in the ship is really great where he's just babbling up to the sky,
Right.
you know, and then the water is right at his mouth and you can like hear the sound of him trying to speak while the water it's like he's giving these sermons while he's going under.
Right, and
So
it's De
yeah,
Niro, so it's great. Like he always kind of brings that
it is
extra
great.
level.
Yeah,
Yeah, let's talk about thrillers for a minute. And honestly, I think some of the ones I'm going to mention are going to be from the '90s, and I'm going to mention three specific ones: 12 Monkeys, Fallen, and Seven, which I think are great thrillers. Seven is famous for Brad Pitt saying, "What's in the box? What's in the box?" That was Kevin Spacey, I'm pretty sure, who was the serial killer in that movie. 12 Monkeys, obviously Bruce Willis going back in time from the future to try to stop some kind of bomb going off or that lets maybe a virus or something that.
I think it's like a biochemical. Yeah, it's some sort
And
of
then Brad
virus,
Pitt's in
something.
that, and he's kind of the crazy fucker in that movie, which is kind of interesting. And then, have you ever seen Seven? Or no, Seven. We already said. Sorry, we said Seven. Fallen. Have you ever seen Fallen?
I haven't seen Fallen. No,
Fallen is great. It is God? Is that Sam? I think it's no. It's not Sam. It's Denzel. It's Denzel Washington, and it's John Goodman. And at the beginning of the movie, and as I'm saying this, I feel like all these movies we're talking about right now, The Simpsons have done like a Treehouse of Horror on. But he's a serial killer and he gets electrocuted in the chair. But at the beginning of the movie, the characters don't see this, but it's like this entity that comes out of him after he dies and then goes into somebody else. So it's like this demon kind of thing. And so this detective, who's played by Denzel Washington, and his partner John Goodman, are seeing other people dying the same way, and they're trying to figure it out because they're like, well, this guy, it's got to be a copycat because this guy just got killed by the electric chair. And anytime it's possessing somebody, it always sings that song, time is on my side. And then so Denzel Washington's character starts to realize that every time somebody sings that, it's in them. And he realizes that he can't, the only way he can kill it is he's got to go somewhere where there's no other people. And I'm going to give away the ending, but he
Okay.
ends up he tries to go out to this cabin because he just doesn't want anybody else around. And then the person that's actually possessed is his partner, John Goodman. And so he ends up having to kill John Goodman and himself because he knows that it could take over himself. And so you think that, okay, the demon's dead because there's nothing else there to take over. And like maybe he can only go so far or whatever. But then, like, I think it's a cat that runs out, and you realize at the end of the movie that the demon has taken over the cat. So what Denzel Washington just did by killing him and John Goodman really didn't do anything. So it's just kind of another one of those crazy
Yeah.
movies. But are there any other thrillers out there that you really like? That because there are some good ones, and they're kind of borderline horror like that, and it is kind of tough to say like whether they'd be horror or not.
I'm trying to think of games that would be classified as thrillers. Did I say games, movies? And I was just pulling up a list here to see if there's anything that speaks to me. Conspiracy Theory with Mel Gibson.
Great movie.
This is '90s. Oh, Enemy of the State.
Mm.
I love Enemy of the State.
It's a
Will
great.
Smith.
You have something they want. Gene Hackman's character in the elevator with Will Smith. Shout out to
Yeah,
Gene
so
Hackman.
good.
Great, great, great guy. Passed away recently.
Yep.
R.I.P. Mr. Hackman.
Sad.
Yeah.
Died from mouse poop.
Yeah. That's crazy.
I'm always worried about that. That's one of my neuro. Can we take a mental health break real quick?
Yeah.
I clean out so many things around me that are like I've had to touch so many things that have mouse poop on them recently, or like over the last year, and I'm constantly thinking about, I don't know if you pronounce it right. I think it's hantavirus,
Right.
and I'm always thinking about that, even though it's not common in the area where we live, which is northern Michigan.
Right. Right.
I'm always thinking about that. It's like one of those
It needs a
neurotic
hotter
things
climate
that
to live. I do know that.
yeah, and I think Gene Hackman was down in like Arizona maybe or something like
Yeah.
that. Really unfortunate though. And it's still kind of a freak thing. I don't think it's a common thing to die from,
No,
but
definitely not. Just unfortunate that it was
yeah.
him and his wife and even his dog, right? Like his dog died too from it. So yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But yeah, keep naming some
Now,
thriller movies.
back to the thrillers, Point Break.
Oh yeah, Point Break, man. They tried to
Yeah.
remake that and they shouldn't have.
There's a couple of these. I don't know if these are classified as thriller. This movie I really love quite a bit. Do you remember the movie Gattaca?
Yeah, I do. That's no, I'm thinking of who's the main star?
It is boy, what is his name? He was on Training Day.
Was it
Ethan Hawke.
yeah, Ethan Hawke.
Ethan Hawke.
Sorry, I
That
was gonna
movie,
say Arkin Eagle, but it's Ethan Hawke. Yeah.
the thing, and Jude Law, Uma
Good
Thurman
old
as
Jude
well.
Law. That's the only
You know,
law I live by.
Ethan Hawke and Uma Thurman are in that movie. I wonder if that is because that came out in '97. I wonder if they maybe met during that time, or if
That's
that
right, because they
was,
were married, right?
or if they weren't,
Or they
they
were
still are. I
together or
thought.
something. Yeah, I can't remember if they were still
Yeah,
are. But now you making me think of Quentin Tarantino, and I totally forgot about some of Quentin Tarantino's movies that could like Dusk
yeah.
Till Dawn, but that was I think like he was working with that other guy, I forgot his name. But yeah, he does some of that.
But anyways, so Gattaca, I love that movie so much because the theme in the movie, like one of the ideas, is that regardless of how you were born, through sheer will and passion, you can still achieve things that you're not supposed to be able to achieve. Like I think that's such a cool message, and that movie does such a great job.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I just recently watched that like a year ago, and I remember I think it was on like YouTube Movies or something. But it's just such a good movie. And really, and they're living in a world where this is even like we believe this even today in today's day and age, right? Of like maybe I'm not smart enough, or maybe I'm not creative enough, or I just wasn't born to an affluent enough family, like not enough of a connection or money. But this is even in a future where gene editing in children are common, like in babies before they're even born. So now you edit out all the bad genes and you're going to have a genetically perfect child. And Ethan Hawke plays a character in this world where he is not one of those children. He was just naturally born, no editing done to him. And the science has predicted that he's only going to live till like I don't know, it's like 30 something is like his age in the movie because his heart only has a certain amount of beats. And so on average, he's going to die at this like age, and he defies all that through just sheer will. And his brother, I think his brother plays somebody who is gene edited to be more perfect. Him and his brother would always do this swim challenge. There's this quote in this movie. I don't have the exact quote, but I kind of have it. But they would do this swim challenge, and Ethan Hawke. I don't know if he would always win or if he only won once, but the point is that they would swim out and they would challenge each other, and Ethan Hawke swam further, and his brother couldn't understand how Ethan Hawke's character was outswimming him.
Right.
And the quote that he uses in the movie is that he says, "The reason why I'm winning is because I never save anything for the way back."
Uh,
And I think, and that's such a cool idea. Like when I hear that, it gives me goosebumps when I think about
yeah,
that
it's a good
idea.
quote.
Because
Yeah.
I think, yeah, because it's something in life. It's something about in life about like sometimes not having a plan B or not having like an alternate plan. Like, what if this doesn't work out? It's like you just go into it with everything, and it's either that or you die. It's like putting all your chips on the table. So
Right.
it's such a cool idea. So I love that movie
Yeah,
for
that's a
that.
good mention. Yeah.
There was another one. There's some like aren't like Total Recall. It's like a thriller
Yeah.
movies like that.
If you like you talk about toe nipples, maybe we talk about a three boobed lady.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, those are my mentions of ones that I was just able to look up that I remembered that I liked.
Okay. Well, yeah, I did want to. We had talked about the Human Centipede. I don't really know how much we have to talk about with that movie, except for the fact that if you don't know what they mean by Human Centipede, then I don't know. I guess look it up. If you're under 18, don't look it up because it's not pretty. There's also another movie that I would probably tell people to stay away from. It's called, they've done a couple of them, The ABCs of Death, and they've got some pretty fucked up shit. And it's like these short films that are named after each letter of the alphabet, done by different directors, and some of them they're bad. I don't even know why you would consider this horror, but there's a couple that stand out to me, and I guess I don't really want. You know what? For the content, I'll talk about them. There was one specifically where it was like Chinese. First of all, there was one with cartoons, and it was just a person who goes and poops, and the poop doesn't flush, and then like the poop, it's animated, and the poop's like killing everybody, which is weird in itself. It's just kind of fucked up. There's another
Okay.
one where these Chinese, I think it's Chinese people, they have to keep masturbating and on like, or they're going to die. And it's so fucking crazy. And so on the stage, they keep putting uglier and uglier things. And then they fucking put like a child up there. And it's like, fuck, what the fuck is going on? And like the people have to keep going. I don't even know like what the point of like if you think that you have to keep masturbating to like die, like you got to know that in the back of your head you just can't. Like there's going to be a time where you just can't anymore and you're going to die. Like you just can't do it for the rest of your life. So there's definitely scenes in that movie where if you like fucked up shit, I guess go out and watch it. I'm sure you could probably find it free on some streaming service, but it's really
Yeah.
fucking weird. And I would actually recommend people don't watch those movies.
I'll skip it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, the Human Centipede, like you said, you've watched part of the Human Centipede and you said that was
Yeah.
bad enough. But that's like one of those things where you hear about the movie. It's kind of like an accident, right? Like people can't look away from an accident, like a car accident or something atrocious, or like some guy's walking around with like a third fucking eye on his forehead. Like people are gonna look, right? So it's just kind of like one of those reactions. But yeah, I think really quick, I wanted to discuss, just kind of like how the evolution happened. Obviously, we had Psycho, and that was labeled a thriller, and it was like kind of the thriller that changed all the thrillers. And then The Exorcist was kind of what started the possession horror, and then Halloween and Texas Chainsaw Massacre kind of started the slasher blueprint. The Shining was kind of like a psychological masterpiece. Alien is when you start getting into, more of like the out of this world type of horror movies. Night of the Living Dead, of course, is with zombies. The Blair Witch Project is the found footage phenomenon that started, and Paranormal Activity kind of took that to another level. Jaws created the summer blockbuster and showed that a horror movie could be a blockbuster. Scream was a meta horror, right? They're talking about, kind of sounds like I said meta horror. No, I don't mean like she's a Facebook whore. I mean, It's a meta horror where they're talking about the cliches and the things that happen in movies and using them as rules. And Saw and Hostel are more like a torture horror. And so I just kind of wanted to go through that because it seems like every 15, 20 years, like somebody tries to do something different and kind of invents a new genre within the genre or subgenre. And it's just interesting. That's my take on horror movies. I don't know if this is going to make you want to watch more horror movies or not. I do suggest, if anything, if you take anything out of this and you want to watch any of them, Cabin in the Woods would be the one I would direct you to. And Dark Skies. I really like Dark Skies. That's kind of the alien possession like movie, or not possession, but they're trying to, I don't know, take somebody away.
Okay.
So yeah, so watch those. Do you have anything else?
Okay.
We're gonna do our Wheel of Controversy segment to end this off in a minute, but do you have anything else you want to talk and discuss about horror movies, or anything else you'd like to add? Do you like killer clowns? Is there anything that actually freaks you out in real life, like that would? There's a lot of people that I know that are scared of clowns, so I will specifically send them pictures of scary clowns.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's anything specific like clowns or things like that. With the horror movies, I think that the worst kind for me are some sort of like, I don't know, religious, like supernatural horror.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Gosh, what was that one that Kevin Smith did? Because everybody was surprised that he did it, and it was about like this cult like leader. Gosh, I can't think of it, but that's actually a decent movie. The guy who plays like the cult leader does a great job of being this crazy, and he gives this magnificent uh, monologue at the end.
Yeah.
All right, Brannable Lecter, are you ready to play one of our favorite segments? And this segment is called Wheel of Controversy, and
I'm scared.
I'm ready to do it. So why don't you bring up that wheel for us and we will give it a spin and we'll see what crazy controversial topic we are going to discuss today.
All right, here we go. We're going to give it a spin. You ready?
I am ready for the spin. Well, this is suspenseful. I'm at the edge of my
Kinda going
seat right
fast.
now. Capital
Capital
punishment.
punishment.
All right.
Okay. All right.
This
All
is
right. Let me,
interesting. All right.
I'll stop
So
the share.
why don't you go first?
I love capital
I
punishment.
love me some capital punishment.
I'm just kidding. Boy, capital punishment, let's define it first. Capital punishment is the execution of
Usually a murderer.
prisoners
Right. Yeah.
as a punishment for the crimes they've committed. As a punishment for the crimes they've been convicted of committing. I'll put it that way. So that being said, I don't know if I love our current methods of capital punishment. I don't love the electric chair. I don't love execution by what's the other one? By injection.
Right. Lethal injection. Yeah.
Lethal injection. I think that there's got to be better ways to do this. I mean, people seem to be more efficient at killing themselves than sometimes the stories that I hear coming out of like these states that kill people and they botch it. They can't find a vein for the injection. They weren't able to find it like 10 times in a row or something. That might be hyperbole, but for some of them, it's probably not, or it's close. And the electric chair is just, it seems kind of barbaric. Now, we could back up more and say, like, should people die? Should we have the power to kill people? And I think that in a far enough future that hopefully we don't need to have that. Hopefully our methods of rehabilitation are so strong, whether it's through medication or I don't know, surgery, whatever that means, or who knows, maybe like the advancements of technology like Neuralink goes so far that you can use it for certain types of people that would be otherwise irredeemable, serial killers or something like that. So I'm not sure how I feel about whether or not we should have the authority to kill people, but I'm not 100% against it. But I'm open to the arguments. But that being said, the way we kill people, I'm not happy about. I think that there's a better way to do it. I honestly like a sharp, like a guillotine kind of thing. Like I almost feel like in some ways that would be more humane just to have something like that. It's like chop your head off in one fell swoop. It's gone. And then I don't know, maybe we don't like it because it's gruesome, but I think that it's probably less painful. So what do you think, Matt?
I think I'd be heading to the guillotine. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry, a little pun in there for everybody. I'm a big rehabilitation guy. Here's the thing that I have, and I realize that when people get like a death sentence, that usually it's not like it takes a while for that sentence. I've known people that are on like death row, not personally, but I've read about people who have been on death row for like 20 years or even longer. My thing is a lot of people say, okay, let's just like if they kill somebody or whatever it is that they did, like murder, it's usually murder. it's like, well, it's the eye for an eye kind of thing, right? Let's kill them. And it's like, well, I think there's a lot of people out there that do know what they did was bad. And if you put them in a system for the rest of their life behind bars, what's worse than that? That's almost worse than death in my opinion, in some ways. Now, are there people out there that do this and just don't have any remorse? So is it really, yeah, I mean, there could be a case to be made there, but I do believe that in most cases, leaving these people with their guilt and having to be behind bars and never being able to see the light of day for the rest of their life is, I feel like, worse than death for a lot of people. And so I think that that would be okay. Now, a lot of people would say, we could get into other, a lot of people might come up and be like, well, I don't want my taxes paying for that or whatever it is.
I was gonna bring that up. Yeah.
Yeah. And I do understand that. I think that that would be a lot of what people, and so can they figure out a different way to, fund that kind of thing? I don't know. Maybe AI can help us with that in the future. Maybe we'll have virtual prisons. I don't know, but go ahead.
If you can allow me to put, because I do have a perspective on this in terms of the value that I place on capital punishment, or the reason why I think it exists. I don't think capital punishment should exist as much to punish the person who did something bad.
Right.
I think the purpose of it should be for the betterment of society. And so I don't know. So, because I understand your argument, I think your argument is a great way to have your cake and eat it too, because you can say, not only am I against killing people, but also it's kind of worse to sit them in a jail cell, right?
Right. Right.
And like, and I agree. I actually, I agree with that. But that's if your goal is to maximally punish somebody who deserves it. But does that really make society better if somebody suffers more or less because it's an equal punishment for their crime? Or is society a better place if you could have an all-knowing being, like let's say Almighty God was literally able to come down and say this person will never be good for society, then we can just say, well, the best thing then right now is just to end their life and get rid of them and move on, right? Like, and then we don't drain any resources taking care of them. But in that scenario, we get to have the hand of, the voice of God telling us, like basically saying it's okay to kill this person. And so yeah, that's one of the big issues, is that we don't have that. And so now it's like, who are we? Then now we're playing God to say that
Right.
that person can die.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that, but if I think absolutely, it's kind of like the free speech absolute argument, where it's like, well, if you're an absolutionist, like when it comes to free speech, like you should be for all the A, B, and C, right? And so thinking about like what's better for society, I would, and I present a counterpoint too, whereas like if you had an all-knowing God that said this guy murdered somebody, but if he was only in jail for one day, that would be enough to rehabilitate him. It's like, who would be for that? But if your goal is to be for the best possible society, then you really should only have him in there for one day, because having him in there for longer is a more drain on resources. And your goal, yeah. So I'm not sure. So I like to think that that then again, if I'm one of those people where my family member gets killed,
Yeah.
and this person's it's like I'm gonna want to watch. I want this person to die,
Right.
right?
Right.
And so, but is that so? We do have a lot of like. It seems like capital punishment exists to satisfy the desires of revenge for the people who have been greatly wronged.
Right.
And I don't know if I completely agree with that, even though I understand it.
Do you think it should be expanded beyond murder? There are some people that would say people that get in trouble sexually assaulting minors should, or having sex or rape or like things like that, where they think they should be killed, with a lethal injection or something. I'm not 100% sure how I feel about that, because I do feel like the capital punishment would, like you say, it would come into play with extreme cases. Because I feel like no matter what I say, if I say, well, they should just spend the rest of the time in prison, I do feel like, well, there could be a scenario that happens at some point where I'm like, oh, well, this person should probably just be killed, right? Um, but do you feel like it's just good with just, if they take another life, then that should be the only time that they consider capital punishment, or should it be other times? Because there is an argument there for, especially with
Yeah.
somebody who's sexually assaulting a child, how that affects that child. It can affect so many things. And that child could be changed in so many different ways. It could grow up to be a bad person and do the same thing, which a lot of them, that's the case, right? Like a lot of these child molesters were molested, and that's kind of like what happens. But so do you allow that child to, or do you allow, like, should these people die because the amount of issues they're going to put on that child for the whole life? It's almost like, is it better, like, you should have just killed them? Would they have been better off to be killed because now they have all this traumatic events? Obviously, I'm not advocating for that, but I'm just saying, like, you could see where people might say that. So I'm just kind of curious
Yeah.
if you
Well,
think.
that's a tough, yeah. Well, it's almost connected to like the classic riddle. Like, I don't know if it's a riddle, but the question of, well, like, would you, if you had a time machine, would you kill Hitler as a
Right,
baby?
right.
And well, I mean, what would be your answer to that simple
Well, we
question,
had
right? Like,
talked
would you
about
kill
this,
Hitler
right?
as a
And
baby?
and and it's like if it's you, if it's your brain in Hitler's body, then yeah, you could or you could probably. Oh, you mean like not? Sorry, you mean if I just went back in time and like
Yeah.
not if I were to become Hitler or something like.
If you had a time machine and you had one chance to use it, and it was only going to send you to a time when Hitler was a baby, and you had the choice, and you would not get caught, and you blip right back to the current moment, would you kill Hitler as a
No,
baby?
no, I can't.
And that's
I
the
can't kill a
question.
baby. No, not a baby. I'll be honest. I'm not. I
Okay.
can't kill a baby. Like, I don't know what everybody
Okay.
always says, baby, and it's like, well, why can't you just say? Can we just go back to when he was 20? Something, like,
Yeah.
or can you go back
I
to
see.
like, September 30th, 1939, the day before he invades Poland? Like, can you do that? Like something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. But definitely
Yeah.
not a baby. And I could see where most people would be like, well, I can't kill a baby. And how would you explain that to anybody back in that time? Right. Like, I'm pretty sure Hitler was born before 1900 too. So you'd be explaining it to all these people like, no, this is what he's going to do. And they're like, what are you talking about? And they'd be like, well, there's going to be a first world war. And they're like, well, what are you talking about? And then there's going to be a second world war. And he's going to be a big part of it. So yeah, it would be tough. Like, and definitely obviously I couldn't kill a baby. Just to reference though, I'm pretty wimpy in itself. I don't think I could really kill. I don't want to ever kill anybody. But obviously, when it comes to those kind of things, you do wonder about, can they do that? And I'm assuming that you have the same
Yeah.
answer, that you probably couldn't do it either.
I don't think that I would, because I think that it violates one of the sort of principles. I don't know if this holds true in every situation, but like I like to think that somebody ought to commit the crime before they can be punished for it.
Right, right. And that was we were discussing a movie that was about that, where, or maybe we weren't discussing it, but there was a movie where they would
Are you
find
thinking
out.
of the I think of the Joseph Gordon-Levitt movie?
Is it that movie where they would find out? I can't even remember which movie you're talking about, but where they would find out they were going to commit a crime, and then they would.
No,
Okay.
I was thinking of a whole different scenario.
Oh, okay.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt, you know the movie he was in with Bruce Willis?
Looper.
Looper,
Yeah.
yeah. So they try to he goes back in time to stop this thing from to kill this person as a kid, but it turns out by doing that he's the one causing the loop where the kid becomes the evil person in the future.
Right.
And so Joseph Gordon-Levitt realizes that and has to and stops the loop. But it's related. It's like, what if you go to kill Hitler and you do it, you shoot him, but you end up like, and then he has a twin brother or something that actually is it's like something like that. And then now you're the reason why Hitler even exists and he's evil is because of this
Right.
like tragic thing
Right.
you did that you tried to do. Um, so I
It's.
like to
I
believe,
think it would just be smart if we didn't fuck with time travel. But like
yeah,
we
right.
said,
Yeah.
I don't think we have a way, because if we did have a way, wouldn't have somebody come back? Like, I don't know if they would or not, but like it feels like we might know by now if we did.
Yeah. All right. So let me go back. So I'm not dodging the question 100%. What was the original question that I brought up Hitler for? It was about,
If you think they should expand the capital punishment to just, and I don't just necessarily mean people that are like,
yeah,
sexual assaulting or rape people, or people that rape people, just anything. Like, do you think, because you could actually go
yeah,
into something further, like, well, what about drug dealers? It's like that's a whole different other thing, right? Because there's a lot of people who will blame the dealer, and there's a lot of people who will blame the buyer, the person that's buying the drug. And should they
yeah,
be, because then you get into the things where, okay, well, if you're going to criminalize the drug dealer, then why aren't you criminalizing the person that sells some dude alcohol and then he goes and he drinks and drives and kills people on the road in an accident? So I guess there's a lot of things in there, but really what I just wanted to see is if you think it should be expanded beyond just murder, which I'm not 100% sure it isn't already, but I know it is definitely for murder, and not all states have it. So
Yeah, I think it's possible for somebody to commit so many, either a large number of heinous crimes that are
mail fraud.
typically seen as less than. Well, I don't know about that, but yeah, I originally thought of mail fraud as like male, like MALE
Oh,
for some reason,
gotcha.
but
He's a fraud.
yeah. So yeah, I think in theory it's possible for somebody to commit so many crimes, right? Like child, like pedophilia or something like
Right.
that, where they do this either once and it's already bad enough, but there's even a spectrum of where it can even be the worst case scenario of this kind of thing, and you do it a bunch, and yeah, you might be deserving of being put to death as a crime, but that doesn't mean that I necessarily have faith in the system that's job is to convict these people and to punish them.
Right.
So, and because that system seems to be so faulty, and it's all, I mean, like, do we trust, like, we're sitting here talking about UFOs, the government, like Donald Trump, and, like Joe Biden, what is he asleep at the wheel? Is Trump asleep at the wheel? Like, what's happening is, what's happened with the Epstein files, but then at the same time being like, yeah, they like, this is the same system we definitely trust to assign death punishments for
Right.
people.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but that's the part where I don't like, if we had a more secure system. I don't know, maybe this might sound dystopian to some people, but I think in the best way possible, this is maybe the hope for like AI, like super advanced AI that actually is advanced enough to make these judgment calls that are more correct on average than humans are. Maybe that would be a system that's less fallible when it comes to these sorts of things. So as it is right now, I'm not 100% behind. Yeah, so in theory, these people do deserve death, but in practice, right now, I don't know if I can stand by that.
Yeah, and not to cop out or anything, but I kind of agree with like that statement because
Yeah.
who are we really? Like we don't like we're just spinning a wheel and we're talking about controversial topics and that's all it is. We're talking about them. We don't advocate for anything, condone anything. We don't we just we're just using our own little brains to come up with what we think, would be the best. And just because we say it doesn't mean it's the best idea anyways. I mean, everybody's got ideas and you just hope that and that's why I leave it up to the smarter people, right? It's like we can talk about this all day long, but I leave it up, or at least I hope they're the smarter people. But
They're not.
yeah, like I mean, who
Spoiler.
knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
The more powerful, leave it up to the
the
powerful.
powerful people, which probably isn't the best thing
Yeah.
either. But hey, we're little peons in this world. We're not part of that. We're not part
Yeah.
of the important political world or anything like that. And so we just kind of speculate and do say what we say and we go from there. And so I kind of agree with you. You just don't really know. And just because I said that people should probably spend their lives in the prison and that's how you punish them. And then you brought up a good idea of like, what's really the betterment of society. So there's all these different ways that people look at these things. And you got to kind of use all of that to determine how you figure this out. Luckily, that's kind of a judge's role and they figure out the sentencing and they go from there. And I'm just glad that, I mean, it sucks that somebody has to figure this stuff out, but I'll be honest, I'm glad it's not me.
Yeah.
Yeah. But all right. Well, that was a fun subject. Hopefully we get I'm hoping to get some subject that's a little bit more controversial next time, but hopefully that'll happen at some point because I feel like every time we do this, they're not that crazy controversial. Or maybe we'll just always agree somewhat on the same level. I don't know. All right. Well, this has been another wonderful episode talking about horror movies. Halloween's coming up, so everybody should enjoy this. Go out there, watch your favorite horror movies. Brandon Belector is going to watch Cabin in the Woods at some point, maybe before Halloween. Maybe he can tell us on one of the next shows and he'll let us know if he liked it or not or if I ruined the movie for him. But I think that's it for us. I am glad that we talked about horror movies because I do love horror movies. So
And I hate them.
yeah, and you hate them. So for everybody out there, thank you for joining us. Until next time on the Socially Awkwards podcast, have a wonderful day.